Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Claddercast, episode 62, the UK Games Expo 2019 preview. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm John Cage.
I'm Andy Lewis.
And I'm Rory J. Summers.
Who's this? Who let him in here?
I have infiltrated Collider Towers and I am here to take over.
Someone call security. Get him out. I want to see some ID.
Ferret, sick him.
No, I'm here to stay now.
Welcome aboard.
Happy to be here.
So, if you don't know, we've invited Rory aboard for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you actually go to polyhedroncladder.com, you'll have noticed that Rory has been doing plenty of reviews for the site and doing weekly Kickstarter updates and news articles.
Whoa. Plenty? No. All of them. Let's be fair.
Quite frankly, he's making us all look pretty bad.
Wow.
Well, that was the second reason I invited him along, because Rory is actually organised, and at last year's expo, Rory got to see like twice as many games as me and Andy combined, because he'd done things like made a diary, spoken to publishers beforehand, booked slots, that kind of thing.
Yeah, did all of that.
Whereas me and Andy just rocked up and waited to see what would happen.
Yeah. I prefer my
#ramshackle.
approach, but it's less productive.
Less productive. I've already filled all our diaries for the entire weekend now.
I've noticed it's like having a PA. It's great. Shall we call you Tracy or something?
No, don't call me Tracy.
Okay.
Rory's fine.
Rory, okay.
That works too.
John, it says here you've taken my advice.
I don't want to admit to this because, well, frankly, I don't like taking your advice generally, but in the last episode, I wouldn't like to give you the satisfaction. In the last episode, you suggested that I just buy a car for my midlife crisis and just get it over with. And I have done that.
What have you bought?
Well, at long last, I've reached the front of the queue to buy a new Tesla. So, in June, I should have a shiny new Tesla Model 3 arriving. Well, I assume it arrives on my doorstep.
Not literally on your doorstep, I hope. That'll make a mess of the porch.
Just if they could just drop it off on the road. I assume it's got like a great big bow around it, and then I just say, Tesla, come to me, and it drives itself onto my drive.
Oh, has it got all of that shit with it as well?
Oh, yes.
Is that how cars work these days?
Apparently so.
It's how Teslas work. I don't know if you've seen one of the recent series of Grand Tour on Prime. Clarkson reviews like the SUV version of the Tesla thing, and it has a lot of gimmicks and some very nice gizmos, and it has this ridiculously large screen. This is this oversized iPad, and you can put like fireworks displays and stuff. But yeah, you can call your car and it'll come to you.
Instead of a windshield, you have like this big display?
That would be even cooler.
No, you've still got the windscreen,
Okay,
but
right.
instead of like all of the consoles and the fans and stuff, you've just got this ridiculous screen, which is very nice, but I would imagine quite distracting.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you don't have an instrument cluster, so it replaces the instrument cluster off to one side.
Sounds rude, I'm sorry.
Instrument cluster.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my car doesn't have an instrument cluster.
Buttons.
Whatever you want to call it. Speedo. Nope, that's getting worse, isn't it?
But yeah, I mean, the one on Prime was a snip at £160,000. Now, I'm pretty sure John hasn't paid that much for his car. He's not well paid.
It's not that much, but it was expensive.
What colour is it?
It's going to be red.
Red, right, cool.
It'll go
Because
fast
red
that way.
ones go faster.
Yeah. Well, you said Tesla, and then you said loads of other words after that, but they don't mean anything to me. So, red car, right.
Okay, so it drives itself. It's red, and it'll do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds.
Cool.
That's the
quite
crucial
quick.
bits.
A little bit faster than my push bike.
Hang on a minute, and you had the gall to go at me when I got my car. When you said 0 to dead in not very much time at all. You're going from 0 to dead in even less time.
That's true. I didn't say I wasn't a hypocrite.
That's fair. That's true. But you see, fast is fun.
So yes.
Well, that means you can drive to the expo in record time then.
Well, it won't be here in time, unfortunately.
Ah,
Probably.
Right. But trying to bring the conversation on point, does it have enough boot space to fill in all the games you're going to buy at the expo?
I've checked the important things. It's got boot space and a frunk. For
Now,
board
that
games.
does sound rude.
That's
That
really
does
rude.
sound very rude.
Have we just done our explicit warning for this episode already?
No, that'll come later
All right,
when I
okay.
start effing and jeffing.
But yes, board games fit in the back. In fact, it's got enough space to fit a mountain bike in the back, which is the other crucial consideration for this car.
Impressive.
Well, in the car.
I actually hope it rains on the expo weekend, because if it's really sunny, I'll be driving with the roof down if I don't get the train. And if I have the roof down, there's no boot space in my car.
It would be good for your wallet, at least.
It would be, but I've already got 2 games I know I'm going to buy, so I need somewhere to put them. I could sling them on the back seat, I suppose, but...
So if we find a board game on the side of the M42, we know it's yours.
Yes, pretty much, yes.
So we are, of course, talking about the UK Games Expo 2019, which is being held from Friday the 1st of May to Sunday the 2nd of June at the Birmingham NEC. Tickets are still available, and you can usually get tickets on the door. I don't think it's ever sold out, has it? I'm not sure.
I don't
I'm not
think
aware
it
of it
has,
selling
no.
out, no.
No. So this is arguably the 3rd largest tabletop gaming convention in the world. I say arguably because what usually happens is when UK Games Expo announce their figures, they're the 3rd biggest, and then about 2 or 3 weeks later, Origins announced their figures, and they've overtaken UK Games Expo again. So, like, for a space of about 3 weeks, it's the 3rd largest gaming convention.
Yeah.
So it's 4th then?
But then Origins does have that 4th day, that all-important extra day.
True.
But can you actually physically endure that many days of board gaming convention?
Challenge accepted.
Based on last year, no. Steve and I were f***ed at the end of last year. God almighty. Because we were doing the job of 3 men. And it was an extra day longer, because obviously you had the Thursday
night,
half day longer, because you had the Thursday night as well. So, we were goobered by the end of it. And neither of us had the good grace or the good foresight to book the Monday off work, so we're both like zombies on Monday.
Didn't you go to a gig as well on the Saturday night last year?
I did, actually, yes. I went to see Bill Bailey on the Saturday night.
No rest for your wickedness.
No, it was very good. He was very funny. But yeah, I was absolutely banjaxed after that.
See, I've made the same mistake again. I'm back in work Monday morning afterwards.
Same.
Booked the whole week off.
I think I'm booking it off. I can't remember if I have yet or not.
Well, I'm off the week before, so I'm hoping I can build up a level of relaxation so I can hit that expo hard.
It's a nice theory.
Yeah, Monday I'll be dead. Oh,
I've been looking back at the stats for the previous years and how many people have attended the UK Expo. And I'm wondering if this year they're going to build on their success even further. So last year they saw something like a 10k increase in visitors. And I mean, every year it seems to be like an exponential growth. I think maybe this year we could see another 20k increase. So pushing it up to 60k attendees. Prove me wrong, humans.
Because 2 years ago it was 30,000, I think, or 25.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Last year it was 40,000.
Well, it's 3 halls now as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, it was 3 halls last year, wasn't it?
it was.
Yes.
2 main halls, and then there's the FFG hall for all the tourneys.
Ah, of course, yes, it was. I forget about the tournament hall. Doesn't really...
2 halls then.
Not really my thing.
It's worth to have a look round. If you want to break for like 15, 20 minutes, just go to the 3rd hall where all the FFG tournaments are and just walk around, and then you get a sense of the scale just from being in the expo hall itself. Then you go into the tournament hall, and it is an entire hall full of tournaments. Like hundreds of people playing X-Wing, hundreds of people playing Netrunner and Star Wars Armada and things like that. And it's at that point you go, whoa, this is absolutely, absolutely huge,
Super bonkers, not just quite bonkers.
Yes, indeed.
It's bigger than Jesus wrestling a tiger.
Well, that was my tip from last year, because I used to go in through the entrance to the tournament hall, because that kind of led directly into Hall 2. And the queue to get into Hall 2 was always substantially smaller than Hall 1. So I made sure that whatever I wanted to see first thing in the morning was in Hall 2, and I got to it within 5 minutes of the expo opening. And then by the time that demo had finished, I went into kind of Hall 1, and then, everyone's around, but I didn't ever have to wait to get into the hall. You see those films of all the people, thousands of people just queuing up on the stairs. Dodge all of that, just going through the Hall 3.
We will talk about games aplenty. We'll talk about demo stands. We've already mentioned tournaments. It's also worth mentioning the kind of events they've got on. There's a whole load of seminars, basically 3 days chocked full of seminars that are on all the way through the entire weekend. I believe you went to a couple last year, Rory.
Yeah, I picked up the Wyvern's Lair last year. It was it's the Dragon's Den thing that they've been doing for the last couple of years. Really interesting. So they have a short list of designers that come and they present their designs fully prototyped up to a panel of judges that included mainly independent UK publishers, and they just show them all off, and then the judges kind of have this big consultation, and then they pick one, and the winner gets a Carting Monday, I think it was, production value of up to about £200 to make their game into a proper prototype.
Nice.
Previous winners have What's His Chops, who did Subterra. Legends Untold was there on the first year. Tent Worker Assassin. There's been some interesting games that have then gone to publication and Kickstarter and been very successful.
None of which I've liked, so they don't count.
No, okay.
Next!
Wyvern's Lair. See what they've done there.
Yeah, very clever.
I also understand, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Nightmare Live's there again this year. I may be wrong.
So while we wait for Andy to look through the whole of the internet to find an answer,
whole of the internet,
we've collectively been trawling a lot of lists of games, and some look good, some we're probably less convinced of. I don't know about you guys, but there seems to be some sort of themes in a lot of these games. So some popular bits and pieces that seem to crop up again and again, mechanics-wise, I'm talking. So stuff I've noticed that seems to be particularly popular this year that I haven't seen so much in previous years are roll and write, MOBA, tower defense kind of things.
Yep.
There's an awful lot of mentions of asynchronous factions in games. And another big one that seems to be coming up a lot is fully supported solo modes. I think in the past it's often been a kind of afterthought of, and if we make it available so that just one person can play it on their own, we'll make some more money.
Yeah, I think the solo mode stuff has been growing at a really steady rate over the last few years. You see a lot of Kickstarters now have a solo mode as a stretch goal far more recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that as well. And I've seen there is a definite vocal group within the solo players as well. So when a Kickstarter comes out, you often see, or a new game announced, like, will it have a solo mode? Seems to be like the first question that comes out ever. We were talking to a designer, I don't want to name their name actually on this, and they were saying that they actually considered the solo as a bit of a vocal minority because he noticed that the difference between when they added the solo mode to the Kickstarter and when they didn't, even though there seemed to be lots of people shouting, saying, well, I'm not going to back the game unless there's a solo mode, the jump when the solo mode was announced wasn't significant. But it seems that there is definitely a vocal call for this kind of thing, so it's definitely going into more games. Definitely agree with the roll and write thing.
Loads
roll and write
of those.
seems to be absolutely everywhere.
You're not a fan, are you, Andy?
I am not a fan, no.
Have you tried many roll and writes yet, Andy?
I think I've seen you lot play that Railroad Inc. thing.
That's a great game.
That was a fun game, that.
But I don't actually think I have actually played one.
Andy Lewis. Making an opinion on something he's never played. That's not like you.
I've got one in my bag if you want to play now, Andy. I can just draw for you.
I do not. It has dice, and the fate of the game is determined by the dice. That.
How are you feeling about Space Base this week?
I have gone off the idea.
Just give me an episode by episode update of where is Andy on Space Base. We can mark it on a pendulum on a graph.
The Space Baseometer.
I feel a chart coming on.
Definitely, yes. And Nightmare Live is at Expo, just coming back to that. I have looked things up on internet.
Oh, goody.
Well done.
There you go, just saying.
Well, I hadn't completely forgotten about it.
The vocal minority, is this the same vocal minority that may kick up a stink when somebody puts an insert in a box that doesn't tolerate sleeved cards?
It's a very similar vocal minority, I think, yes.
Yes, I think they should be told where to go in no uncertain terms.
Fair enough.
And Andy's back.
That's just my opinion. I'm good at opinions.
Yes, you are.
No, I just roll and write to me just seems kind of lame. But you're right, I should play one.
It depends on how they're used. I really like Railroad Inc., and I've played another couple that haven't really floated my boat, I must admit. I still need to play this Oh So Clever, because everyone seems to be absolutely raving about this, but I cannot. Just looking at it, I can't see what the fuss is about.
You're just not allowed to put your score on Twitter when you do play it, because apparently that's a massive faux pas now in the Ganz So Clever, Doppelt So Clever world.
What?
Why is that then?
Because I think lots of people just got pissed off with going, oh, look at me, I'm so clever. Literally, I'm so clever, I've scored this. And it just racked a load of people off. So if you put your score on Twitter, you will get booed at.
Oh, wow, Twitter. I kind of got off Twitter in the last sort of 12 months or so. I used to use it a lot, but it seems to be just full of, well, I shan't use the word.
What, Redditors?
I was going to say, but...
kind of interchangeable.
I was going to say, is it a coincidence that I started using it a lot more in the last year?
Oh dear, it's going to be like this, isn't it, this episode?
Yeah. See, Rory, that earns us our adult rating.
Done and
That's
dusted.
getting the air horn.
Oh, the air horn needs warming up.
Mm.
Fresh, hot off the press today, the UK Games Expo has announced their nominees for the UK Games Expo Awards. Have you looked at these?
Literally to no one's interest or indifference.
No, I have not looked at these.
I think, Rory, you've made a sensible decision, because I think, Andy, you're right.
I usually am.
Azul is there for Best Abstract Game.
What? Wasn't that out last year?
Well, it was out like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like a 2016 release.
Is this the original Azul or the Sinatra one?
This is the original.
That was out 2 years ago, possibly even 3.
Exactly.
What a load of shit.
I mean, there's some rightful things in there. I mean, the Loke
I'm just
battle
hunting
mats
through
are
the
on
list. What the hell is Schneckdewup?
I'm sorry, what?
I think that's the best family game. Oh my god.
Well, that's a question for our listeners. I know we have some German listeners. What the hell is Schneckdewup?
Sven, get on it. Actually, I can't ask Sven. He's in the US at the moment. That's no use.
They do have the internet over there, you realise?
Well, I know, until Trump gets his hands on it.
Puts a tariff on it.
Yes.
Sorry, far too topical.
So it roots down for best new strategic board game, but that was last year. So I don't understand how that's been awarded a 2019 award for a game that came out.
Was it last year or was it not the year before?
Well, it won the 2018 BGG award, didn't it?
Yeah, but would it have come out in the last 12 months since the expo was last done?
Yes, it must have done, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're not all terrible. Dice Hospital's there for best new dice game.
They're not. There's some good suggestions for games here. It just seems a bit random as what's on and what isn't.
Decrypto, really best party game. That's a bit of a weird. I mean, don't get me wrong. Decrypto's actually quite a good game. I've played it a few times, but I wouldn't describe it as a party game. It's a group game, but it's not the sort of thing you whack out at a party with, once everyone's 10 points in. That's just asking for trouble.
You say that.
That's a good point, actually. That might be worth doing.
Before we get things really bad, let's talk about some games, though. So we are going on our normal kind of preview episode idea. We've all scoured these lists. Well, Rory's mostly scoured these lists. We've selected some games. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 3 games each, and then we might, if we have time, do some honourable mentions at the end. This list is nowhere near exhaustive. Even between the 4 of us, when you got 12 games we're going to mention, we can't possibly mention everyone. And we're recording this on the Wednesday, so it should be Sunday or Monday when you're listening to this. Games are being announced all the time. I mean, I had an email about half an hour ago with 2 or 3 extra games on I didn't know were coming, and I just had to go, no, we're ignoring them.
Too late.
Yeah, there's also, we don't know what some of the big people are bringing. So the main sponsors are Wayland Games, who won't be bringing any games because they're not a publisher, they're a shop. No idea what Games Workshop are bringing. We've no idea what Cubicle 7, Paizo, or Greater Than Games are bringing. And there's going to be hundreds of other people that are bringing stuff that we will find out later. A couple of places to go if you want to double check more. The Tabletop Together tool. I was saying that with a mouthful of spaghetti.
Spaghetti? Well, I suppose it's better than a mouthful of other gentlemen.
Why do you have to go there, Andy?
You haven't podcasted with us before, you can tell.
Of all the things that you could have your mouth full of, why did you have to go for gentlemen?
Why not?
I can think of one really good reason why not.
You can also go to, if you go to Board Game Geek, there is Tom Heath's UK Games Expo list. If you probably go on to search Geek Lists Hot, you will probably find it there. So it's Tom Heath's or Slicker Drip's UK Games Expo preview list. That's another good place to look out. So then, gentlemen, 3 games each. Have we locked in our selections? Have we tied them down?
Oh, yes.
No.
Are our grown men? No, well, that's true, because we a little bit behind the curtain. We usually change these lists as we're recording the podcast, and you can see that happening today.
Yes.
Who'd like to go first?
We could start with a little summary. So I had a look through our list. We basically went through and looked at loads of good games, and then we pared that down. We ranked them 1 to 3, where 1 is, I forget the exact words that you guys used.
It was grey, scale me, uninterested for 1.
There you go. And 2 is?
Aye.
And 3 is?
Like a dog on fox shit.
So I went through the list and I filtered them all by games that all 3 of us had rated at 3 or above, or hadn't bothered to rate at all, so we don't know that someone hates it. And from that list of, I think there's about 40-odd, from the short list of 40-odd games, we went down to just 5, and they are Clank Legacy, Coreball, the Zero Gravity Sport, Sanctum, Sierra West, and Villagers.
Should we start with one of Mr. Lewis's? Mainly because Mr. Lewis has highlighted this as a game he's really interested in, and it's a game both me and Rory have played.
Yes.
We had a sneaky preview.
Sneaky.
Well, it is by Board and Dice, and it is called Sierra West. So it is it's a game set in the Wild West, Golden State of California, and I'm going to let you two describe the game because I haven't played it and you have, and I wouldn't want to look like an idiot now. That's not like me.
Too late.
Stop me if I go off-piste a little bit here, Rory. I would describe this as a cross between a programming game, like Mechs vs. Minions.
Yes, very much so.
And a worker placement game in the vein almost of something like Great Western Trail.
I probably wouldn't bring worker placement into it as a secondary mechanic. I think worker placement, because worker placement is almost what you do as your off action.
Yeah, the words I'm looking for is worker activation, because you can.
Yeah, I think worker activation is probably better. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're given 3 cards out of your deck each round. And these 3 cards have a top row of actions and a bottom row of actions. But the way they get positioned on your board will block out certain actions. So you'll end up with 2 rows of actions on your little board. And then when it comes to your turn, you will send your 2 workers, which is basically like a cowboy and a miner, the best way to describe it, along these actions. And you can activate them in any order you wish, but they have to be activated from left to right. So the one on the top row can go to 2 actions, and the bottom one can do 1, and then the bottom one can do 3 actions, and the top one has to do 1. And the idea is you're then sequencing these actions to try and get you, well, if I do that action, that gets me a stone, which means I can move the other worker, which I can then spend that stone to activate this action.
Ah, okay. So it's a kind of engine builder, workery. Okay, yes, got you.
Yeah, so it's engine building, but you're making the engine fresh each round.
So I suppose the other core mechanic of this game is it's very much a deck builder as well, because ideally you're trying to collect cards to increase your deck to give you more options, as you would do in that type of game. But the only way to do that is from the mountain. So you have to send one of your workers up the mountain to go and collect cards, which are revealed 1 card at a time.
Okay.
Just like a pyramid structure. So at the beginning of the game, only 1 card's revealed, and then 2 cards will get revealed. And then depending on which cards get removed, will unveil other cards. So if you played something like Seven Wonders Duel, you'll know the system. It's this little triangular thing where the overlap cards reveals different amounts of cards each round.
Okay, right, got you. So it's not a pyramid scheme then. That would be
not a pyramid scheme, no.
No.
But the especially interesting thing about this game is that Steve and I only played one of the modules for it.
Oh, it's modular. Oh, okay.
Yes.
He says with a resignation on his face, like, oh my God, this game's massive.
Yeah, because we played this one module, and I honestly thought this was the game.
No.
And to be fair, any other Euro game, this would be plenty. You'd play this and you'd go, all right, there's plenty of variation here, because where the cards are on the little pyramid of the mountain could be anywhere. How different players play could affect you, because they could steal cards you want, or steal the mule, which is very important, to stealing the mule of other players.
Or the shacks, which order shacks come out.
Oh, yeah, shocks come out. So the little things you can upgrade your little player board with buildings, and you can, if you buy a building, then several get knocked off the side, so to get taken out of the game. So here's me thinking, wow, there's loads of options. This is, this is a bog standard, that's the bog standard. This is like your standard Eurogame fare. There's plenty of options. There's plenty where this can work. And then Works showed, was it 4 more modules?
I think there's 4 in total in the original base box. There's 4 modules.
Yeah.
So what's different between the modules then?
Other than the very, very core mechanics, which is send a worker up the mountain and send a worker across the action selection thing, other than those 2 things, everything is different.
What?
This was the crazy thing. So the one we played was like Johnny Appleseed. So basically, the major resource you had was apples. And these apples were shared, so it's like one shared resource. So if someone collected apples, it went into like this public amount, and then someone else could spend those apples on their turn if there was any left. So all the cards that are modular were to do with putting apples on, and what happens is any apple cards go on the bottom of the board and the bottom of the mountain, and when the bottom of the mountain fills, that's the end of the game. So it was like basically what it meant that as the game progressed, when you took harvest action, you'd harvest more apples because more cards were out. But then we were showed a version of the game which had a river along the bottom.
Yeah, rivers and banjos. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's rivers, there's fishes. Was that the fisherman one as well?
Yeah, so you had the river one. I'm sure it was rivers and banjos, or boats and banjos, that's it. And you had to go and collect fish, and you had to send your fisherman little boats back and forth along the river to get fish and then go swap them for goods. But you also had to avoid banjo playing rednecks, yeah.
Ding 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 ding
exactly.
ding ding.
Exactly.
So, do all of these modules combine then, or do you play them separately?
You have to play them separately because each one introduces another kind of game end mechanic and another winning mechanic, but there's more than enough in each module to keep you going.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some of the other modules were things like there was one where there was bandits hiding up in the mountain, and you had to shoot the bandits before you could take the resources.
But you had to collect the bullets.
Yeah, you had to collect bullets to shoot the bandits.
And then roll a dice to find out whether you were going to kill the bandit or not. And if you were the sheriff, then you would get money for killing a bandit. But if you weren't a sheriff, then you just killed a bandit.
This sounds amazing.
It does sound good. I was going to ask, does it feel like between modules, it's just like a reskinning almost? But I can already tell from your description that it's wildly different enough that if there is similarities, you don't spot them.
There's a base similarity, so the mountain will be there's cards in the mountain that'll be the same. The way you do actions on your board will be the same, but it adds extra cards in, so there'll be different actions available depending on the module. And then whatever happens at the bottom of this mountain, and what is an extra layer of mechanics. So it's like almost like a base set, and then these little modules just add on to the top of it.
Each module it's a deck of cards. It's going to be a few chits, because you've got hunting, which I don't think it's worth going into, but each module comes with its own animal to hunt, and then it might have its own tokens. So the fish, you've got fish tokens, and you've got the little boat tokens. And I think that's about it. But yeah, each module is really just a deck of cards and a few components, and it completely changes the game.
So it's a little bit like adding all the different Carcassonne expansions in, and that they add there's kind of the base game there, but there's a big chunk of additional stuff.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, but you can't mix and match them. So, like, if you wanted to in Carcassonne, you could throw everything at it. But
if you were mad.
If you were mad. But here you wouldn't, because, as I said, each one adds something so different that you would be mad to, where you can't. It's actually impossible to do that. And some of the modules, that obviously, Board and Dice are preparing for this to be quite big. and they're right in doing so. I'm going to stick my neck out and say this is going to be huge.
Yeah, agreed.
This is last year they had Teotihuacan, even though it was under the name of NSKN. I think this is that kind of level. It's going to really appeal to people. And I won't go into details about what we were told about the future modules, but they're all got guest designers. Cool. So it's not going to be a surprise to anyone, and I will say this one because this is the obvious one. Like Tony Bodell is doing a module for it. It's going to be a Snowdonia-based expansion.
Yeah.
David Turks is doing.
I was going to say, is Big Davey T involved? He must be.
Big Dave T's doing one, yeah. And his sounded bonkers.
It absolutely
It doesn't surprise me in the slightest. That's what he does, and he does it well. Is Big Johnny G going to be involved as well? Is it John Gilmore? Dave Gilmore. No, it can't be Dave Gilmore. Isn't he a DJ?
What are you on?
That wasn't a name that was mentioned in connection
to Dementia Live with Andy Lewis.
Isn't it John? Who's the designer of Dead of Winter? Is it John Gilmore?
It's John Gilmore. It's what you want.
John Gilmore. Yeah.
Sierra West, the Crossroads game.
Yes. Why not? Let's make it more mad.
So yeah, I'd highly recommend you go give this a look. This is, I think this is going to be a really big one.
It sounds very cool.
And they have planned to do very structured demos of this. I think demos are going to be taking about 30 to 40 minutes of this game, and you'll start kind of mid-game. So you'll have something to get straight into. The playables will all be set up, and the mountain will be part completed. So you can really just kind of get in, see how a few turns work out. So I think they've planned to demo this very, very, very well.
That is the correct way to demo a game.
Absolutely, yeah. So
yes, it is indeed. Rather than
it's having its premiere at the UK Games Expo. There's going to have a limited run for sale at Origins in a few weeks' time, and its actual full release will be at Essen this year.
And I assume because it's Board and Dice and formerly NSKN, it's not going to be kickstarted. It's just going to be off the shelf. Go for it.
Yeah.
FFG style.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Sounds good.
So that's Sierra West from Board and Dice.
Colour me interested.
Like a doggone fox shit.
Absolutely. Right then. I am curious to know what this thing at the top of John's list is in italics.
Right. So Steve said, when he looked through this list before I got a chance to, Talisman Legendary Tales, John's going to be all over this. And I thought, ooh, more Talisman, I'll have a look at this. So I did have a look at this, and after exhaustively watching a number of playthroughs, and by exhaustively I mean watching one and being quite exhausted by the end of it, I've reached this conclusion. The game is mostly aimed at kids, and it's taken out all the good bits, or the bits that I thought were the best parts of Talisman, which is namely the backstabbing. Without those bits in it, without the competitive aspects when you're working together, kind of loses quite a bit. It's really only very loosely themed with the Talisman kind of universe. So it's got the similar characters, it's got some similar monsters, that kind of stuff, but that's where it stops. And so, Steve, I'm going to not talk about Talisman Legendary Tales because...
Thanks for that.
Good. Right, next.
Yeah, okay, let's dump that. Let's talk about something much more exciting. Have any of you guys played Cloudspire?
No.
Me neither. But I have been doing some homework, and I'm quite excited about this game. So to give you the gist, it's a 1 to 4 player strategy game, heavily influenced by tower defense MOBA style games, but also with an aspect of base building. So think the original Warcraft game, computer game. The designers said they had that kind of stuff in mind when they were putting this together.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh and Adam Carlson from Chip Theory Games, they kickstarted this in November last year, raised about 500k. You can pre-order it now for about 100 of our earthly UK pounds. Yeah, so it's not cheap. The general gist of the game is that there's a series of islands that kind of floating in the sky. And each of these islands is powered by something called the Source, in inverted quotes. So all your machines and the clouds themselves are kind of powered by this. Something's gone wrong with it. Something seems to be draining more of it than it should do. And people are starting to get a bit worried about the thing that's keeping their clouds aloft and their machines working.
To hit the bottom of the bottle properly.
That might be it. Or like stick a knife in there.
Yeah.
This sounds remarkably similar to the premise of Zelda Skyward Sword. If anyone's ever played that on the Wii.
I haven't, actually.
I haven't.
It's alright. It's not as good as Twiglet Princess, but it's not bad. I mean, Twiglet Princess was basically Ocarina of Time again, but...
that's not a bad thing, though.
That's a great game.
It was... Twiglet Princess was pretty good. Skyward Sword wasn't quite as good. It did make use of the proper Wiimote with all of the gubbins chucked onto the bottom, the way the remote should be. But there were lots of floating islands in the sky. Not too dissimilar, actually, to, spoiler alert, Charterstone. End spoiler.
Sorry, what did you say? I just tuned out there.
So they're all sort of floating around, and obviously Ganon's done his thing, and things are going base over apex, and you have to go to the ground and beat the crap out of monsters and things. So it sounds similar.
Well, maybe.
So no, is what your tone just said. No.
So these clouds have these floating islands have collided, and so these factions that have been apart for however long have crashed together, and they all kind of want this stuff, this source, so they're kind of vying for control of it. So you each take control of one of 4 unique factions, and you try and basically destroy and steal the source energy from your opponents. So you'll each send and defend against armies, minions, build towers, protect your base, and explore to try and boost your heroes and those towers. Now, I really like the sound of this game because it kind of sounds a little bit like MOBA-based Neuroshima Hex.
I was about to say it sounds very MOBA-like, but it's kind of MOBA crossed with Command and Conquer.
Yeah, so you each get a kind of fortress tile, and all of these things are neoprene mats that plonk down in the middle.
Steve's eyebrow just went up then. A subtle eyebrow raise just went,
It was the MOBA mix of Neuroshima Hex. It was just like, hello?
Yes, I thought you might be interested in this.
Out comes the pipe.
So in the centre, there's kind of one central chunk of these neoprene mats. They're all spread out, and your fortresses are sat around it. Each of these got little hex tiles, and you basically send your minions forth from your fortress. Ooh. And they kind of, as far as I can tell, they just travel in straight lines. So you're programming where you want them to end up. You can adjust their path as they go. But generally speaking, they've got a relatively simple mechanic as they're just stamping down towards the enemy's base. You can upgrade your fortress over time. You can upgrade your guys that are going out there. When they encounter some little spots on this kind of map, they will be able to spawn some new bits and pieces. So there's points of interest, they call them.
Right.
Basically, there's NPCs on the map, and as you get close to them, you can twat them, and if you defeat them, there's a source point underneath them, and you can then gain some resources from that and build what they call a spire, which is basically a tower that will twat the other guys, your enemies, as they try and go past. And you can upgrade these things so you can make them attack once or twice or 3 times. You can increase their range, all that kind of stuff. So while you're doing this, obviously your enemies are also vying for control of the same things.
I remain suspicious.
I thought you might.
Well, no, for a good reason, actually. Because Steve and I have played a tabletop MOBA before. Mm-hmm. And we were not that impressed because whilst the MOBA is kind of fun on the computer, as a board game, it's kind of dull.
There's a few of these games who have tried to make a MOBA board game, and so far I've not seen one that I'm convinced has done it well.
I think the biggest problem we had with Guards of Atlantis, is the one I'm thinking of, is that it was fine until we got to the point you couldn't upgrade anything anymore, because then there was just no impetus to carry on. Whereas the number of upgrades you've mentioned here, John, sounds a lot more extensive. Ergo, you've got more impetus to carry on playing, which is a good thing. Hopefully, it'll be okay. But yeah, the MOBA kind of, it felt a bit grindy. Almost like Dark Souls as well. It was just too grindy.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more to it as well, in fact.
Okay.
Not done.
No.
Okay, carry on.
So your minions that you send out, they've got like the top chip that you've got is the minion, and below that is its health stack.
So this, just to point out, because that's clear, this is Chip Theory Games who made Too Many Bones, isn't it?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
Ooh. There we go. I knew that would get his interest.
Do you know what? I'm still pissed off I didn't buy it last year.
So all the tokens for this are poker chips.
Yes,
exactly,
the production quality on this game looks fantastic.
It's gorgeous.
Okay, on that basis alone, I'm in.
Not that you're shallow, Andy.
So you place your minion, and you place it on top of a stack of health tokens, but you can then place another minion on top of that one, and you send it forth. When the top minion gets destroyed, the bottom minion gets revealed, and it starts with its health at the whatever level it went in with. So you can stack up like a bunch of more and more powerful guys and send them out. Let the towers at the front of the enemy's base take out the weaker, crappy units, so that your important ones make it all the way to your enemy's base.
Ah, the old human shield strategy.
That's the
That's
one.
it.
Yes.
Go forth, meet shield.
Nice. That sounds interesting. Do you know if it's on? Presumably, it's on display. Then they're going to be demoing it.
That is an excellent question.
Which I happen to know the answer to because I dropped them an email to find out. And yes, they are going to be doing demos, 15 to 20 minute demos. If you just want a kind of a just drop in, this is how it plays. A full game will take anywhere between 2 and 3 hours. So I doubt they'll be running many of those. Yeah, so it is going to be demoable. It's actually going to be another premiere for the UK Games Expo. So it's going to be the first time anyone's going to be able to see this anywhere in the world.
Yep.
Awesome.
And they're predicting that this is going to be a really massive hit this year. I suppose they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would.
Well, they did well with Too Many Bones, so it stands to reason
Yeah.
they're probably going to have a lot of interest based on the back of that.
Yeah. So a couple last points before I finish off on this. The factions that you play are, guess, async.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
So you've got, for example, you've got the Eerie or the Airs. I can't remember what they're called, something like that. More mobile, they can fly, so they can go above the ground and sneak past a few bits and pieces. You've got another faction called the Brawnin that are more kind of geared towards brute force, better with basic towers and that kind of stuff. So they're simpler to play, but less flexible. And finally, there's quite a lot to this game. So we talked about the multiplayer version. There's 16 solo campaigns as well, an endless mode for solo play, 8 2-player co-op missions, and up to 4 players PvP. Which 4-player MOBA, like with everything heading into this middle bit, that's got to be mental, right?
That sounds like the way we should play it.
Absolutely right, yes.
I'm pretty excited about this game.
At least it's not 11 players like Guards of Atlantis. 11! Literally 11! How would you even do that? More to the point, why?
Well, have you heard about the Battlestar Galactica game that's happening at Expo this year?
I only heard about that today, which is one of the reasons why I said things are still coming out. But go on, tell us more.
It's the 66-player Battlestar Galactica game.
66?
Yeah, so what they're doing is they are essentially reenacting episode 1, season 1 of the reboot TV show, 33 minutes or 33. So there'll be 33 players per side as the Cylons try and catch up with the human force as they're making those hyper jumps every 33 minutes. And it's Saturday morning, and you kind of have to book a spot on the website. The company of which name has completely escaped me, but yeah, 66-player
Ares Games.
Ares Games, that's the ticket. Yeah.
God damn.
66-player game of Battlestar Galactica.
No.
See, I really want to go and watch this for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes.
I want to go see this.
As a spectacle.
If people have not got clipboards with the corners cut off, I'll be most disappointed.
Yes.
And at least one person has to say fracking.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody has to say fracking.
I imagine, I was going to say, that'll be all over the fracking place.
Also, someone asks if anyone wants any toast.
Yes.
Right.
Genres a bit there.
So that was Cloudspire.
That was Cloudspire. I didn't know much about this game, actually, John, so thank you for that. I now really do want to play this.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this.
I'm quite keen to have a look at this one as well.
Yeah.
Unless the demo goes horribly, I'm fairly sure I'm going to buy this. Having been a massive fan of Neuroshima Hex and Monolith Arena.
One of the games I'm really excited about is Venice from Braincrack Games. So this game is going to be the kind of thematic or spiritual successor to Ragusa, which Steve and I played last year, and I think we've all backed on Kickstarter.
Nope.
No, all right, okay. So it's a 3 for 4 then.
Did you back it as well, Steve?
Oh, no, I didn't actually. No.
No.
No, I didn't back it because Andy backed it, Rory backed it, and Adam backed it.
Solid reason not to back it, really.
Yeah.
It's poor. Get on with it.
So, yeah, this is designed by Andrei Novak and David Turksey. And in the game, you're going to play as noble merchants in the city of Venice. And you've got these 2 little gondolas that you have to send up and down the various canals. And each canal route costs a different amount of money. As you do this, you'll pass by your workers that you've previously placed. Every time you pass by them, you activate them on these kind of modular tiles and you'll get the goods. And it's kind of essentially, it's a Euro-y, exchange goods, upgrade goods, and you're going to want money at the end of the game. However, one of the interesting things about this is when you kind of dock at the end of your turn with a building, you're going to have a chance to upgrade the worker that's there to make them more efficient or make them better and just generally improve them. The other thing I quite like about this is that every time you have to pass by one of your opponent's gondolas, you're going to start spreading dirty rumours about them.
I'm in.
Awesome.
This raises your suspicion with the Inquisition. And you then have to be like do some pious actions and pay some money to charity and give some clothes to homeless children or whatever to kind of bring your suspicion back down, because at the end of the game, much like in high society, if the person with the highest amount of suspicion is evicted from the game, they can't possibly win. So
awesome.
It's a case of kind of dicking over everybody subtly so that they have, even if you don't have the most amount of points, if you can make sure that Andy, for example, has the highest amount of suspicion, then he can't possibly win.
That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm, it really is. It doesn't matter how many points you have, Andy, I'm going to spread dirty, vicious rumours about you.
Most people do. I'm used to it. It's fine.
Oh.
So when you find out they're not rumours.
Yeah.
Story with a donkey is true.
Wait, the what?
We've spread a rumour. It's not a rumour. Ergo, Andy will win. Nice one. Excellent. It sounds good. It sounds like a combination of a few games, actually, because when you're sort of saying, obviously, you improve your workers, that's kind of a Twatty Hadouken kind of feel when you improve your workers as you go around there. You've got the pre-planning of positioning of workers, which is very Tzolk'in. And then, obviously, you've got the spreading of rumours and the backstabbing, which is actually weirdly, hilariously, a bit of Cavern Tavern as well. When you get someone grassed up to Mr. Nasty,
Mr. Nasty.
that's got all of the things with a big green tick for me. So I'll be all over that.
I really like the idea of this. So definitely one I'm going to check out. Probably first thing Friday. Really, not that I'm booking
Good
in my
shout.
time, but
I will join you.
Oh, done.
As soon as I've bought the next game on my list.
Do you want to tell us now, or do you want to leave us all in suspense?
I'm going to leave you in suspenders. Suspense.
Way ahead of you, Andy. Way ahead of you.
He says, rubbing himself.
No, they're on the side, actually. You're right.
Okay.
They're drying from last week, are they?
Oh, God. What on earth?
What? Oh,
I thought you were kidding.
yeah, we all thought you were kidding.
They're for biking.
Biking
Uh-huh.
suspenders.
In the winter. Yeah.
Mr. Cage is known as Jane at the weekends.
Joanna,
It's not even Thigh High Thursday. Come on.
Thigh High Thursday.
Is that a thing?
Save us, Steve. What are you talking about?
Right, I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to talk about 3 games in one.
That's lots of cheating.
That is
Hey,
cheating.
it's cheating, but it's my podcast. I'm editing this. I can do what I want.
He'll cry if he wants to.
Uh-huh.
For the first time ever, CMON, previously known as Cool Mini or Not, will be at UK Games Expo and will have a stand, and they are bringing lots and lots of goodies.
Of course they are.
Ooh.
Some of these are to play, and some of these are to, I think, look but don't touch might be the circumstances.
Drool.
So available to play will be God of War, which is, of course, the card game licensed based on the PlayStation 4 game, which is the one where Kratos and his son go off to Norse mythology and kill everything. So if you played a God of War game, you'll know that basically Kratos kills everything, and that's it. This looks really cool because the idea of this game is you're going to have like a plethora of cards laid out in a grid, which will show like the monsters. If you ever played any of the God of War games, you'll know it's about killing ridiculous-sized monsters. I mean, like, absolutely stupidly ridiculous. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have, I think, 8 cards is what they've shown off so far, and each one of these cards will be a quest, which will be attacking like a certain location on the monster, and then certain cards will be turned over once you've completed those quests, which will then carry over to the next quest. It sounds really, really interesting. I enjoy the God of War video game, so I'm really fascinated to see what this is going to be. We've not been shown much about the gameplay. We've really just been shown some sneak peeks so far, but we will be able to play this at the UK Games Expo, I've been told. Now, what's also going on is that CMON are going to be running some live streams from the expo, which means, I can't remember the times, but two different intervals, Mr. Eric Lang himself will be running through Bloodborne, which is just funded on Kickstarter.
And what happened with your Kickstarter on that, Steve?
Was there an accident, Steve?
Well, you don't. The listeners probably don't know what thought process was going through the last couple of weeks.
From the sounds of it, I don't think you knew what thought process was going on either.
To be fair, I haven't got a clue what's been going on this last week, no matter what. So yeah, I backed the Bloodborne Kickstarter, and then when they started to announce add-ons, I had this kind of internal dilemma about, well, do I back add-ons? Do I wait and see what all the add-ons are and make my choices? Because there was no way I was going to go all in on Bloodborne. Yeah, there was no way I was going to go all in because I knew it was going to be expensive, but I didn't know how expensive. And then several of the add-ons were Kickstarter exclusives, and that really wound me up because it's like, well, I can't even decide I want that, and then I'll go get the other ones later if I like the game. It's like I've got to get these or I haven't.
Honestly, the last couple of weeks, it's just been every day there's been a whinge about, they've done something else that's really irritating. It costs so much money. It's like, you're going to back it, aren't you, Steve? All of it. No, I'm going to be good. I'm going to wait and see what happens. ...
So, about Friday last week, I was all for just cancelling completely because it was like, there's no way I can afford all of this. I won't bother getting anything because I can't make my mind about which add-ons to get, and then I just completely forgot. So I've got the base pledge of the game, and I've got that now. I've backed it. It's too late.
Whoops.
I did that with another one a wee while ago. I can't remember which game it was. I think it might have been Lords of Hellas actually. But I didn't use your thought process. I didn't keep it to a minimum. I thought, okay, I'll go all in, and it'll be fine. I can always pull out, and then forgot. So I went all in, and I'm rather glad I did with hindsight. But see, you feel you screwed up, Steve. You go all in. That way, you can always reduce it. Oh no, you can't. But you don't need to. It doesn't matter. Forget about it.
Conclusive proof that the pull-out method never works.
It's true.
Oh, Stephen.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you can't see me, but I'm shaking my head.
We don't need your disapproval on this podcast, newbie.
That's it. He's out. He's failed the test.
Cut. Far too prim and proper.
Bloodborne will be there. I'm hoping to get a better look at this, and then I can decide which add-ons I'm going to buy after the extra.
Just buy them all. That way you don't have to think about it. That's why I do it. You don't have to and ah then. It's just all of them. Problem goes away.
A fiver says he goes all in.
I'd tenner.
I'm not taking any of those bets.
So the other game that's going to be on display, but I don't think we're going to be able to play them, is it must be like an early prototype of Trudvang Legends.
And I'm very, very excited about this now.
You didn't know what this game was a couple of days ago.
I didn't know what this game was a couple of hours ago.
I still don't know what this game is.
I was going to say, John, do you know what they're talking about?
Nope.
When you put about it in the messenger earlier, I thought you just had like a massive typo.
Just been matching the keypad.
Yeah, what is this game? And then I typed it into Board Game Geek and it was something. A very good something.
So Trudvang Legends is a board game based upon a Swedish, I think it is, RPG called Trudvang Legacy. So it's based on kind of Norse mythology. dwarfs and gnomes and that kind of thing. What I've heard about the RPG itself is the RPG has got this really rich backstory and history, but the mechanics are not brilliant. And if you look at some of the artwork for it, it's all beautiful. It's, it's dwarves fighting trolls would be a good way to simply describe it.
I was just about to ask, does it involve any trolls? Anyone else seen Trolls?
Troll Hunter.
That's it.
Yeah, that used to be my ringtone for ages. My text message alert, sorry.
Brilliant.
I think this one's passed me by.
You've not seen Troll Hunter?
Oh my God, it's a classic.
It is pretty good.
You need to see Troll Hunter. It's like, it's slightly cheap. So it's slightly B-movie. Yeah, the CGI shit.
It's kind of deliberately done, I think, to some extent.
Yeah.
Is it like Kung Fury? That kind of dirty cheap?
Probably not quite as dirty as that by the name, I would guess.
Have you not seen Kung Fury? Oh, it's amazing.
I've seen bits of it, but not all of it. So, Trudvang Legends is going to be now, we don't know quite how the game's going to play out, kind of scenario-based, but it's a kind of a semi-legacy game.
Right.
So what's going to happen? Yeah, semi. So what's going to happen is...
Not a fully erect one.
Thanks, Andy.
As always, he went there.
Let's face it, we were all thinking it.
Yep, see? You've only been here 10 minutes and you're already tainted.
So this is a game where the game you have will affect the next game that's played.
Sounds like Legacy.
The events that happen will change the kind of stories and legends. And so the next time you play it, the board state will be based on the game that's previously happened.
They're resettable.
Well, my understanding is the whole point is it's not supposed to be resettable. Because you don't want to reset, because you want that different board state that's due to the last time you played.
Sorry, what I mean is the whole campaign resettable. So like you play like 5 games and then you can start the whole thing again. Like Rise of Fenris for Scythe, for example. It's an 8-game campaign, but it's legacy within the campaign, but you can start the whole thing again.
Short answer, we don't know.
Okay.
Long answer, it sounds like it's more you will always have the last game's stuff on the board. As we're recording, CMON have quite literally just released a teaser for Trudvang Legends.
Ooh.
Really?
And it says it, and they describe it as a storytelling adventure game. So you're going to be heroes going out and killing things, and the board has got sleeves in it.
What?
So this is the legacy aspect, and you'll take cards, you'll make actions in a kind of like Dead of Winter crossroad cards kind of style. And your choices, my understanding based on this simple video, is will go onto the board as a sleeve and that will remain on the board until something changes it. So if something in the next game or 2 games later changes it, it stays there until that happens.
Interesting.
It looks very pretty as well.
God damn it, I can't afford any games anymore. Why would we have to do this now?
Why did you have to buy a car?
Well, that's your own fault for buying a midlife crisis car, John.
Oh, but it would be good.
Who buys a car a month before Expo? Come on.
Idiots.
That's a good point, actually. You've got the boards. Everyone's trying to flog off their board games. And what does John go and do? Buys a high-end electric car. John's doing it wrong.
Something I've often been accused of.
Wrong John, they call him.
For many reasons, but yes.
And all of them accurate.
So saying it's like not quite a full legacy game in that the game is progressing from each round. It's just you have a history of the game of what happened previously.
Okay. Previously in Trudvang Legends.
Exactly.
Do you have Majel Barrett giving you the overview? She did the computer voice in Next Generation.
Right.
Gene Roddenberry's wife, you know. She was also in the original series. That's how long Majel Barrett's been around.
Was she?
Yes. She played one of the con ladies. She had the sort of blonde hair. I mean, obviously in the original series, she's in like her 20s. And Majel Barrett played Luxwana Troy.
Yes.
Okay.
And she
And
did
the voice of the
computer
computer.
Yes,
Oh, did she?
Yes, voice. She did. That's Majel Barrett. She did all the computer voice and the last time on Star Trek.
Hang on.
Next Generation.
Troy Senior
Yeah.
is also the voice of the computer.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
How did I not spot that before? I'm going to have to go and watch that after this.
I'm going to have to go watch that.
Good grief. Every day's a school day, boys.
Well, if that's the one thing I learned today, I'm quite happy that's the one thing I've learned.
I think you've learned a few other things.
So nothing about the UK Games.
Yeah. Well, they'll be quickly erased from memory.
Right then. So I've mentioned CMON, God of War to play, Trudvang Legends, and Bloodborne to look at.
Okay.
And smush our face up against the glass cabinet.
And by we, you mean you, Steve. Has the restraining order from last year lapsed now?
If we've lost Steve, we know where we'll find him, together with some drool on the glass.
He'll either be there or in the custody of security.
Yes. As I mentioned buying a game before, I might as well talk about this now. We've kept people in suspense long enough. And that is the third game in the 3-game set of the Century games, which is Century A New World.
A whole new world. No?
We'll move quickly on. But, John, who sang that?
No idea.
Oh.
Aladdin and Princess Jasmine.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's from the Aladdin movie.
Oh, I'll tell you what, let's keep it that way, shall we?
Gosh. Tough crowd tonight.
Yeah, this is the third game in the Century game. So the first one was Spice Road, and the second one was Eastern Wonders. So this is the third in the set. So you can combine, the idea being that you can combine pretty much any combination of the three to generate a new game. So I've bought and played, I think Steve's bought and played Century Spice Road and Century
Eastern Wonders.
Said it, Eastern Wonders, thank you. And then they can be combined to make Sands to Sea, which I have also played. And that is inordinately more complicated, actually, than either of the two. It's great. The sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts and all that. So I can only imagine that adding these three together is going to create something beastly. But I am looking forward to it. So A New World is set in, as we speculated when we first heard about this, in the Americas, so the New World. So you'll be trading various resources, probably furs and various other bits and bobs with the Native Americans, etc., etc., etc.
Are they going to be represented by little brown cubes?
Hopefully, yes.
Good,
So things
good.
like I'm sure it'll be the 4 colours of cubes, and the game will feel very familiar, but I'm sure they'll add the twist, as they have with Eastern Wonder over Spice Road. So it'll probably feel familiar, but not the same. And then I'm curious to know how they're going to include the previous two, because there's very much an Oriental feel and a sort of Eastern feel to the previous 2 games, because we're dealing with spices and all that sort of jazz. Whereas this is an entirely different part of the globe, and they have the Pacific to contend with. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to blend the 3. It'll be interesting to see how that works.
Gloss over that bit.
And we'll go from there. So I'll be running to the nearest shop that sells this to buy it, like I did last year, and find out how it goes. By the end of the first day, Steve and I, right, let's play it. And we rather enjoyed it. We enjoyed Eastern Wonder. So I'm looking forward to A New World.
I will probably be doing the same, to be honest with you.
Indeed. Because if I remember rightly, last year, I think it was about 30 quid, 35 quid to buy it, which was about comparable to sort of previous years. I think I got Century Spice Road for about 31. I think this was about Eastern Ones was about 35. So I'd imagine it's going to be about the same price. But I think by the end of the weekend, like the one sole copy remaining went for something like £48.
Oh, yeah, it was going up in price throughout the weekend, wasn't it?
Yes, it increased by about 15 quid or something like that by the end of the, well, I say the weekend, it was probably by the end of Friday. But
Stock goes down, price goes up.
Indeed.
The way it works.
It's almost like we have an economy. So this is the third one, and I am very much looking forward to it. I won't dwell on it any further than that, other than to say it should be quite good.
I agree. I think I'll be buying it as well.
Good man.
It's one of the few games on my shopping list for the weekend.
Exactly, yes. It's one of the ones of mine.
All right, so that was Century A New World. Why don't we talk about something a bit more creepy crawly?
We're talking about the ferrets again.
Not the ferrets. I was going to talk about Oathsworn. Any of you guys heard of this one?
No.
Yes.
Is this the one that did the puzzle on the gravestone?
Indeed.
Oh, is it that one?
That's the ticket.
Interesting.
Puzzle on the gravestone. I missed that bit.
You should have been reading the Polyhedron Collider weekly news article, Mr. Cage.
You should have been.
Available on polyhedroncollider.com
Can we
every
get
week.
a bell? Shame.
Look, I do the podcast, all right? Don't expect me to read everything that you guys write. You guys write so much stuff. It's hard enough just keeping up with the chat that you guys keep adding to every day.
We do. We're productive.
I get back to my desk, there's 60 messages. I'm like, I only popped out for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. There's 60 messages and 2 reviews that have been churned out in that hour. Rory and I are machines.
That you are. So yes, Oathsworn is a 1 to 4 player solo or co-op dark fantasy dungeon crawler with some new stuff.
I'm going to stop you there and say I'm in.
Good.
Oh,
You're going to be even deeper in a minute.
well, you're going to get so in this, Andy.
Balls deep. Awesome.
So there is a multi-path interactive legacy story including maps and an audiobook. There is a multi-phase 100mm miniature boss fight for each one of those stages. It's coming to Kickstarter in about 145 days as of this.
Just roughly.
In about 145.
Yeah.
Curiously specific, that is. Rather than say about half a year or 6 months. No, 145 days, 6 hours, 8 minutes and 2 seconds.
Look, they've got a counter on their website. They don't actually give you the date, and it was about 1 o'clock when I finished writing this last night. So
okay.
Give me some slack.
No, you should know better than that.
True.
But I will be back. To quote Mr. Tudor, king backed.
Yes. The designers describe this as a Twisted Tales game, which is what they think is a new type of legacy game. What does that mean, I hear you ask?
What does that mean, John?
What does that mean?
So, normally kind of dungeon crawly thing, you'd gradually explore dungeon after dungeon and find some stuff and upgrade your characters and all the rest. This combines a sort of fighting fantasy style game book as the first section of each encounter. So, the voice of James Cosmo from Game of Thrones, Joe Mormont, the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, is voicing the audio part of this.
Ooh.
But it's like a fighting fantasy style thing. So you're kind of exploring the map, but he's reading out the bits about the sections you're exploring.
God damn.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to be a cheap Kickstarter, is it?
I suspect probably
100mm miniatures? No.
Well, there's a few things that tell me it's not going to be cheap. One, it's a dungeon crawler. They're always expensive because they have 2 miniatures. 10mm miniatures are going to just even make that even worse. 3, they're paying for a high-end Game of Thrones actor to do the goddamn narration. This is going to be a 300 ripper, isn't it?
We'll see, but yes.
Yeah.
We shall ask them when we get to the expo.
I'm still in.
So the story unfolds for each of these sections, and you get to the encounter where you get the boss fight, and basically you then have to outwit and outplay the AI-driven monsters and enemies. So as the sessions unfold, groups taken into a deep legacy campaign where you gain levels, loot, and find new allies. I think it sounds pretty good. But wait, there's more.
Of course there is. Is this an add-on or a stretch goal?
So they've said that they had to invent a bunch of new mechanics to pull all of this off. But they've got a kind of push your luck combat system with exploding dice and integrated hit and damage rolls.
Hang on a minute, what, exploding dice?
So I guess when you get a 6, you keep rolling.
Oh, I see. Right, they don't actually physically explode because that would be expensive.
It's not a dexterity game, you know. Roll a 1 and it takes your hand off.
Do you know what? That would be awesome.
I think because they're combining the hit and the damage rolls, you then have to decide whether you want to keep on trying to hit harder and potentially miss the attack, or stop and say, yeah, that's enough now.
Ooh, okay.
They've coupled that with some sort of Euro-style cooldown and action point system. So hopefully this is going to take some of the good stuff from Perdition's Mouth that you guys brought up, but not the bits that you guys disliked about it. If it's done right, if it adds Euro-style bits to it in a good way, I think they could be on something really unique and really interesting here.
I agree. That sounds ace.
I am on it like Miss Bennett's bonnet. This sounds awesome.
It does sound epic.
Miss Bennett? Who the hell is she?
Do you not know your Pride and Prejudice?
You mean a Jane Eyre bonnet?
No, I mean Pride and Prejudice bonnet. Miss Bennett is the main character.
Is she? I don't know.
I've been forced to watch that TV program too many times, and the film.
I have a feeling this might be at least a 3, potentially 4 for 4.
Possibly.
Oh, yes. Well,
we'll find out when we've played it.
The artwork looks gorgeous. Looks like Baldur's Gate and that kind of stuff. Really rich, gritty kind of look to it.
Same designer as Farsight?
That's the ticket.
Farsight, as in... Is that Ian? Not Ian. Ian Scope? No, that was Too Many Bones.
No, as in Braincrack games.
So the mechs with the fog of war tactic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Jesus, we played the demo of that with him.
Jamie. Jamie Jolly.
Jamie, that's the one.
You're thinking of Lewis. You're thinking of Lewis Shaw from Braincrack.
Yes. Now you've mentioned it.
Again, we're back to Dementia Live with Andy Lewis.
It's been a tough day, man. Seriously.
So yeah, I basically need to find a way to start engaging with some of these legacy games so I can actually find some time to play some of this stuff because, quite frankly, I am freaking excited about this.
Hell yes.
This does actually look pretty cool, this. By the way, did anyone actually solve the puzzle on the gravestone?
I didn't even try.
I'm sure someone theoretically did.
So no one here did, is what I mean?
No.
If I'd seen it, I'm sure I would have done.
Yeah, totally.
Apparently you needed 9 letters and I could only ever see 4.
It was a gravestone covered in letters. What are you talking about?
You only had to use certain letters that were indicated by what I think were the cracks on the gravestone.
Oh. There's a clue. I'm going to go back and solve it now. Well, not right
All right,
now, obviously.
spoiler alert.
That sounds awesome, John. Seriously.
Yeah, so Oathsworn into the Deepwood.
God damn
We
it.
should keep our eyes peeled for that.
2 kick-ass games from Mr. Cage there.
Did my homework this time.
Indeed.
First time for everything.
Wow.
It's only taken 62 episodes.
I'm on it. I found my mojo. This is it. Expect reviews. Well, actually, no, let's not go crazy.
One step. Baby steps, mate. Baby steps.
Indeed.
Mr. Summers.
Yes.
You have something that sounds interesting.
Well, yes, I figure while we're talking about bonnets, my next game is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which will be brought to us from Osprey Games. So this is a board game of English magic set in the 19th century. Yes,
It sounds like strange beasts and where to find them.
No, it's going to be far cooler than that.
Good.
It is based on the book by Susanna Clarke from a few years ago. Hugo award-winning, very, very popular, and I think the BBC did a dramatisation of it. Steve, I think you said you watched.
I've seen the TV programme of it. Well worth a watch. I don't know if it's still available on iPlayer, but it was very, very good. And some of the scenes in it were fantastic. The bit when he used magic to defeat Napoleon's armies is one of the best uses of magic I've ever seen in a TV or film ever. Yeah.
Now you see them?
No,
it was more complicated than that, I guess.
Yeah, I've just finished the book earlier this week, and it was a phenomenal read. So I'm really, really excited about this game. So it's based on you players are magicians in England, and you have to move around London and Europe, and you have to attend society balls and go to banquets and whatnot, and hobnob with the aristocracy and politicians, all to increase your influence, because you need this influence so that you can find books of magic. And you need the books of magic so that you can cast spells, and you need to cast spells so that you can defeat Napoleon, for one. But you also have to defeat the game and books arch nemesis. So I'm not going to go into too much details, and just in case anybody does want to watch the TV show or read the book.
I was just about to spoil it then as well.
I would like to watch the TV show and possibly read the books by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I mean,
This sounds like Arrakis, the board game. Hobnobbing around parties, learning magic.
I'm not sure that Arrakis has got the sole ownership of that genre of...
No, you're right, but it seems remarkably close to form.
but I get the sense there's this kind of engine building system behind this. So you need to do one thing, to do 2 things, to do 3 things, to do 4 things. But what I think is one of the most interesting aspects of this game is that it can actually end at any one of 4 points throughout the game.
Ooh.
If one...
Is it predictable?
No, because let's say the 4 of us were playing it, and you'd have to kind of keep an eye on how powerful all the other magicians were, because a magician at any point could end the game and win. However, if none of us are particularly powerful enough, by it gets to, I think, 1817, which is the last turn in the game, everybody loses. So you've got to kind of keep an eye on everybody, make sure that no one's too powerful, but make sure you're always in the right place to take advantage of the situation so that you can end it as a surprise in 1814 or whatever it was. But it's
so when you say you're trying to stop other people becoming more powerful, are you able to sabotage other people's magics?
I don't know if you can necessarily sabotage other people's magics, but I think that is done through a more subversive method of kind of slandering them, because a lot of the game is based on the prestige that you have from society and from the politicians, like the Duke of Wellington and the Prime Minister play quite key roles in the books. So if you don't have their favour, then you don't have access to the power that you need to be able to defeat the bad guy.
Sly dickery, you say?
I think it's going to be sly dickery and careful kind of resource management, so that you can then just pull the rug out from everybody and end it, just before Andy was about to. Not that I'm going to keep picking on Andy, but
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
And I'd like to play that game.
And the game looks absolutely gorgeous because all the artwork's done by Ian O'Toole, and the guys that have designed this are the same guys that did War of the Ring. Which is the So they did the Lord of the Rings board game that a lot of people rave about. I've not actually had the pleasure of it, but apparently it's very, very good. They've done another book adaptation to this one, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, a board game of English magic. Yeah, it's going to be on the Osprey stand. It looks gorgeous. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
I need to play this now. You've really sold us up on this now.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
So I'm rather excited for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell now.
Yes.
That does look rather tempting.
Steve, what else have you got on your list?
So, a game that we are going to play, mainly because we've already booked a slot. We are. And all four of us are going to play, and I'm very excited for, is the new game from CGE, and this is Sanctum.
Ooh.
Now, this will be a little bit of a surprise, because not very much information has been released about this game so far, as in the mechanics. What we do know is that it is, on the surface, a typical kind of fantasy splat 'em up. Let's call it that.
Splat 'em up.
You will go forth with your party adventurers and kill lots and lots and lots of demons. You'll kill things, you'll get XP, you'll level up, you'll get more stuff.
Sounds straightforward enough.
And it's got dice. Okay?
Of course it does.
Sounds pretty simple enough. However, now we don't know what the difference is going to be, but I will say this is by the same designer as Adrenaline.
Yes, we've mentioned this one before. This is Philip Neddick, isn't it?
Yes, this is Philip Neddick. So this will not be as simple as just running forward and killing things. This is going to have some twists in it, and we don't really know what those twists are, and that's partly what's making me so excited for this. I want to see what it is that makes this game so interesting. My understanding is you'll be trying to match dice to the whatever's like on the table in front of you, whatever demons you're trying to kill. So certain weapons will give you different dice, and those dice will have to be matched against these. It's guesswork at this point, because all we've really got is a bit of artwork and some cards. And of course, it's CGE, so it looks absolutely beautiful.
Yes, of course. We do like a bit of CGE round here.
Certainly do.
And the minis look quite nice for this as well.
The minis do, actually, and something that CGE were not really famous for in the past. Yeah, they're very much a Euro game in the past, but now it's like as you said, like Adrenaline. They're kind of being able to expand a bit more further into this kind of genre blending kind of style, because it appears on the surface like this is a very merry, trashy kind of game. But I doubt that's going to be the case. I can imagine this is going to be quite thinky.
Sounds good. We'll give that a go. I wonder if Mr. Grogan is going to be demoing it.
I believe we've booked in a demo with Mr. Grogan.
Ah, well, there we go. Thank you, PA.
You're welcome, sir. Shine your boots while I'm at it.
Oh, dear.
That sounds ace.
It does.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can't really go into much more detail because they've not released any details, but in the next episode, we'll be able to tell you all about it.
Yes, indeed. The wrap-up, which will take us about a fortnight by the sounds of things.
Yes.
Yep.
God damn.
A fortnight of excited chattering and a distinct lack of money in anyone's bank accounts.
Yeah, totally. Well, my third one. I think it's my go. Is it my go? Who wants to
It
go?
is indeed your go.
It is my go. Hurrah! I've thrown in a game that wasn't on Rory's list.
Shock horror.
Bum, bum,
How
bum.
very dare you do research outside of my list.
Well, you know, I've got to show that I was at least paying some kind of attention and did a bit of homework. And by say I did, Elora did.
For the record, I did actually add some stuff to that list that wasn't
well
on there
done,
before.
Mr. Cage. Well done.
Sorry, do go on.
Elora actually found this because, weirdly, she subscribes to UK Expo on Instagram and I don't. So she says, "Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Ooh, that looks interesting." And the game is a Galactic Era by CJ Games, which it's a 4X sci-fi game. So obviously I'm interested, being a bit of a fan of Eclipse and Twilight Imperium. But there is no luck, or rather, the amount of luck quotes involved is very low. Combat is deterministic with hidden information. This gives the game great strategic depth and rewards long-term planning. So I'm out.
I'm in, but I'll get it wrong.
Exactly. It sounds quite good. But the big twist on this, I mean, it looks like it's a hex-based game. Of course it is. They all are. But the big twist on this is you can either play... It touts a moral system. So you can either play as the light side, where you have to play nice and... make friends and allies, or you can play as the dark side, as it were. Hero, yes. And you can basically be a wanker. You must play more peacefully, therefore must be more trustworthy to others. You can easily ally with advanced civilizations, so you've got the advantages there. So it's a bit almost like Black and White, if you ever played, obviously, if you remember Black and White.
Oh, I love that game. Mate of mine was lead artist on Black and White too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No
Bloody
way.
hell.
Yeah.
Claim to fame.
Yeah. He's really nice bloke. Irritatingly nice, but there we go.
Is he one of these people? He's got loads of talent, but he's a nice guy. You're like,
If I told you
that's
that
just
he
not
drove a
right.
really nice car, played guitar, was a singer in a band, artist, like built his own kitchen, you know, by like matchsticks and chopping his own wood, would you believe me?
I would.
Yeah,
Is he called MacGyver?
it's called John, actually. But
John the MacGyver.
I was just going to say, sounds like another John. Only a good one. Oh.
But on the dark side, you can be as aggressive as you want. So apparently, you can switch your alignment during the game as well, which I would imagine is probably going to be quite interesting. So John has perked up already. There's a rock, paper, scissors tactic, so you've got different types of fleets, and certain types of fleets will beat other types of fleets. Ships have epic abilities, you'll get technology levels, so there's a big technology tree like there is in Eclipse and in Twilight Imperium. So all of that is going to be very familiar. But yeah, this light side, dark side, I think, is going to be quite interesting. But the reason this, other than being a space-based 4X, the reason this got me interested is because it really reminds me of a game called Sins of the Solar Empire on the PC, which I loved. So this was, if anyone ever played Homeworld in the sort of early 2000s, just got one of the first examples of a fully 3D, 360 in all directions RTS. Sins of the Solar Empire was like that, but on steroids. It was a purely multiplayer game. You can have bots in it, which is how I mostly played it, but it's that sort of idea. But the engine on it was incredible. It was just a simple mouse roll between zooming into a ship all the way in and zooming out to see essentially the entire map, which was massive. It was a fantastic engine. So the tactics involved were really, really cool. Of course, you've got massive, expansive tech trees, etc., etc. So the reason this game grabbed me so much is because it reminds me, both in look and feel, of Sins of the Solar Empire. Because you've got this huge scale, zooming in, zooming out, morals, different types of races that Sins had as well. So you've got 8 rounds in the game. Each round's broken up into 4 things: move and fight, grow, trade, and then you score at the end of each round. Rinse and repeat 8 times, and away you go. So in a way, it sounds almost similar to Twilight Imperium in that sense, that each round is fairly well governed by the tokens that the players take. If anyone's played TI, I know you guys haven't, but I'm sure people listening have. And then you go again. So similar sort of idea. So it sounds like a combination of the 2 games, really, with a bit of extra thrown in. And the artwork looks rather bloody good. So I shall be very interested to see that.
Apparently it's coming to Kickstarter in November.
Yes.
Yes.
A little way off yet, but hopefully we'll get a good idea of what it's like.
Yeah, CJ have been demoing it for a few months now. As far as I can tell, it's still in sort of crude prototype stage. So they may have improved it for the expo. So if you do, I mean, I will be going to see it. But if anyone does go to see it, I wouldn't sort of go along hoping to see, final finished product like you'd go and see CMON or FFG or anything like that. But I will be very keen to see what this has to offer.
Sounds intriguing.
Indeed. So that's another 2 big Kickstarters for me this year. Hurrah!
What does that put your quota up to now, Andy?
Genuinely, I think it's about 65.
That's total. That's not this year, though, yeah?
Yeah. That's in total.
Right,
Right.
okay.
It's definitely not of 2019. Of 2019, it's probably about 10, something like that so far. Not that many. I was actually nominated. Now I am a super backer. Finally.
Super.
To nobody's surprise, I might add.
In fairness, I was quite surprised that you weren't already a super backer.
Yeah, I was actually disgruntled I wasn't a super backer in 2018. But apparently the rules are that you have to back a certain number of games in a certain amount of time, I think. I think
I became a super backer in 2017.
You see? There you go.
Back when it was cool.
I discovered Kickstarter, and within a week I was a super backer.
Bloody hell, Rory.
Good skills.
It was ridiculous.
I've got 2 ongoing at the moment that I haven't finished, but I've recently had the On Mars one, Anachrony expansion, Roots expansion, Paladins vs Kingdom, Iwari, Elder. There's loads and loads and loads. So this year alone, there's quite a few.
Has someone got?
It's a good job none of us have an addictive personality, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, totally.
Has someone from you? Well, one of you guys backed Odyssey of the Dragon Lords?
Yes.
Good. Right, I don't need to back it then. I got my 48-hour warning earlier.
I figured one of them would probably DM for me, so it probably wasn't worth me having.
Yeah, that was my thought process.
I've only backed the PDF level, and I'm umming and ahhing because I managed to get in on an early bird that had been cancelled.
Oh, yes. Ooh. Nice.
So there was there's 1,000 early birds left. And I went on there, should I back it? And then there was 1 left of one of the early birds. So obviously somebody had cancelled. And I'm like, quick, I'll have that then. But now I'm like, that's only the PDF version. I'm not quite sure what to do because I quite fancy a hard copy of it.
Oh, I've gone all in on the hard copy.
If you turn around to your right, Steve, and you look at that shelf with all the D&D books on, it looks like there's more space there.
There's loads of space. That's a pitiful collection. You want to see the size of my chest, as it were. That is full of 5th edition books. I've got every single one of them so far. In fact, I've just discovered I hadn't ordered the piratey one.
Yep.
I just ordered that today, actually.
Yeah, I ordered it last week. It's all right.
Yeah, none of us have got addictive personalities whatsoever.
No,
Move along here.
No. I'm running out of room in that chest. There's too many books in it. It's 3/4 full of books.
And the next book is published later this year, isn't it?
Yes.
In fact, the 19th of May, they're going to announce the next Dungeons and Dragons Adventure Pack.
Yeah. This weekend is D&D Live Descent, isn't it?
Yes. So by the time, basically, when this podcast goes live, you'll probably know what it is.
Nice.
Right then. So that was, what was the last thing we were talking about?
Galactic Era.
Galactic Era.
Galactic Era. So that was Galactic Era, which does sound rather interesting, I must admit. Mr. Cage, your final selection.
Third and final selection for this UK Games Expo podcast is Rising Blades. Anyone heard of this one?
Yes.
Good. So we're big fans here at the Polyhedron Collider of the mighty Mr. Frank West from City of Kings. Rising Blades is another of his brainchilds. It's an asymmetric tile-laying board game for 2 to 4 players. Something is stirring in the darkness. For 50 years, the sorcerer Vesh Darkhand has been biding his time, recruiting, plotting, and changing. And now, he's ready to unleash hell on the unsuspecting world above.
So is this a prequel to the City of Kings, then? Because Vesh is in City of Kings as well, so I assume it's the same universe.
Rising Blades is set in the City of Kings universe, 5 years before the City of Kings board game.
Yes!
Are you reading my notes somehow?
I am not. I'm just awesome.
Nerd points. Nerd points for Andy.
That's twice tonight.
No, you get 1 point for this. The first one didn't count.
You learned things. That has to count.
Well, I'll give you half a point.
Oh, that's harsh. I'm taking 2.
Yes, so ready your blades and rise from the depth as champions of Vesh. The highest prize waits you to stand as the Dark Hand's commander of war.
Are you playing as the bad guys? Awesome.
Yes, so basically, you take a character that's tasked with exploring an untouched world and laying waste to everything around you.
Oh,
Now
yes.
you're talking.
There is a bunch of different factions. The warriors raid villages, attacking anyone who dares to stand in their way. The necromancer, raise the dead, summoning an army of undead creatures. That sounds pretty cool. The thieves steal great and ancient treasures to weaken their foes, and the destroyer defiles the land, destroying vital resources.
This sounds very season 8 of Game of Thrones.
A little bit, yeah. So
I'm not saying any more than that before someone comes to my house and shoots me.
there is a danger.
Now, we spoke with Frank a little while about this, and what was interesting was he has decided to split his product range into white box games and black box games, he was telling us.
What?
Okay, yes, that makes sense.
So City of Kings was a black box game, which means it is a big game chock full of stuff.
Right.
Whereas the Vidoran Gardens was a white box game, which means it's a little box and is reasonably light with a handful of components.
Oh, that's quite clever, actually.
So it ends up that Rising Blades is going to be a black box game. This is going to be... When you said it was a tile laying game, I thought, oh, right, so it's going to be similar to Vidoran Gardens. But Frank was like, no this is like a big game. Yeah. It's going to be quite all-encompassing, quite complicated, and with lots of stuff.
I'm in.
Does sound quite good. So basically, you're using your character's unique abilities and objectives to find a way to win and then disrupt the plans of your competitors. So there is definitely some dickery in there. Awesome. And for that reason, I am in.
Tick.
Oh, this is going to get expensive this year, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
For you guys, I'm hoping I can just play your copies.
Bumped into Frank a couple of years ago at EGX, the video game con in Birmingham. And Frank was there demoing City of Kings at the time. I think this was just around the time that it was on Kickstarter, so however long ago this was. And he was talking to me about Rising Blades then. And one of the things he said that caught my attention was that it has a brand new, unique combat system. And I don't know if he's mentioned that in kind of the press information or BGG at all, but one of the things he was quite keen to kind of emphasise, it's a unique, brand new combat system that he hasn't seen anywhere before.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
So I don't know if that still stands. I mean, that information is about 2 years old, but it was very exciting.
Brilliant. Well, I think by default I'm in.
Yeah. Just need to break back into City of Kings HQ and take ourselves a look-see.
Yes.
Break back in?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the sad thing is I still haven't played my copy of City of Kings.
At least you still have your
Sinful.
copy.
That's true.
What happened to yours, Rory?
I had to sell it.
Oh.
But the less time we spend talking about that, the better. It'll make me really sad.
The important thing is that we've still got copies.
And I know where you all live. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
God, you do as well. Yes, you've been here. Damn it.
Yeah, good point. Andy's security isn't that good, I imagine.
It's actually all right. You know.
He has got an alarm cat, remember?
I do have 2 alarm cats, actually.
Yeah, as soon as you walk in, Bandy's like, meow, meow.
It's true.
Meow.
It's true. The neighbours will know.
He's like that when no one's around, so how would you tell? So yes, that is Rising Blades. I really hope that we can get a demo with Frank very soon, because I'm quite excited about this one.
Definitely.
Rory.
Mr. Rory.
Oh,
what else is on your list?
Okay, so my last game, I don't know a huge amount about this because it's still quite early doors, and it's Marquesas from Alleycat Games. So these are the guys that did Dice Hospital and Chocolate Factory and Cauldron Master and all the other ones. All really, really good. All brilliant, high-quality productions and fantastically run Kickstarters. So I had a chat with Cesar about this one, and this one is it's kind of set in the early Polynesian seafaring world, where you are going to be kind of colonizing the archipelago of Marquesas with your little dice. So it's all dice placement, and it's kind of resource management and resource kind of manipulation in that kind of mid-weight Euro style game. So it's from Stefan and Louise Moles, the guys who did Rococo. I don't know if you guys have played Rococo.
Heard of it.
So that's a really don't want to dwell on that too much, but it's about going to a ball, and it's a really deep, really complicated strategy Euro game, and it's really involved, and I'm really expecting something quite big from this. I love my dice placement games, and with this kind of level of depth to it, it's going to be really interesting to move around this beautiful looking board, because they've got, what's his name, Andrew Bosley, who did the artwork for Riverdale and The River.
Oh, nice. So
he's come on board. So it's going to look fantastic. Cesar actually shared with me earlier the box art, work in progress. It looks a little bit like Moana, but that is potentially me just being a little bit racist of anyone from that kind of era of and that part of the world. But yeah, I looked at the picture, and I just couldn't help but thinking of The Rock singing "You're Welcome."
Oh, God damn it! Now I'm going to have that in my head again. Don't say it. That you're welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Ah!
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Again, there's not a huge amount known about it at the moment, but it is going to be coming to Kickstarter later this year, and as Alley Cat Games often do, they'll be drip feeding information out there. I'm expecting their stand to be very busy again this year, what with Chocolate Factory, which they'll have a pre-production copy of, Coral Islands, Dice Hospital, plus the expansions, Welcome to Dino World, and their Cat Cafe. I mean, they've got loads of stuff going on, but Marquesas is the one that really jumped out to me as being a little bit different. It's their next big release, and I'm all over that like a dog on fox shit.
Nice.
Awesome.
So that's me. That's my 3 games.
Nice.
Okay.
Boom.
So that was, how do you pronounce that again?
Marquesas.
Marquesas.
Marquesas. I'm sure Cesar said Marquesas.
I would say Marquesas. That sounds more Spanish.
Yeah, I did write it down phonetically in my notebook.
So my last pick on the top 3 is a game we've already mentioned, because we mentioned it at the very beginning when John did his spoilers. And this is Coreball from
Burning Games.
Burning Games. It's there in the notes at the top.
Bastards, a lot of you. So this is Coreball from Burning Games. Now, what this is a sports ball game, sci-fi sports ball, or sci-fi zero gravity sports ball, in fact. So it's like Blood Bowl, it's like Dredd Ball, which I think is the Mantic Games one. But what's interesting about this is you're playing inside a meteorite field. And the board, as it were, is like this little perspex table. So what it means is the meteorites are moving around as you play. So the board is constantly moving.
Okay.
So the board changes as well as your position on the board changes.
I was looking at this and it looks gorgeous.
It looks brilliant.
I'm quite tempted.
It is. The worrying thing is it's on Kickstarter at the moment, and I don't think it's going to fund.
No.
I don't think it's had enough buzz about it so far. But the one thing is, I know Burning Games are going to be there. They are actually at UK Games Expo quite often. So hopefully they had a demo last few times. They came to Tabletop Gaming Live, and they had a brief demo of it there. So we will be able to get a chance to play this. Now, it's got all your usual kind of sports ball, Blood Bowl type games in there. So you have different teams, which are going to be asynchronous, of course, with subtle variations. Each team's going to have its own different kinds of players as well. And, of course, this kind of game isn't this kind of game without a league system in place. So it's going to have all that tacked on as well. Now, what it has also got is all the miniatures are on the little flying stands. So they're all like in these dynamic poses as well. It's not just like blokes running around. Everyone's on like jetting through the world with these little jetpacks on, And I admit the minis look really nice for this as well. And I did see the minis for this last year at Tabletop Gaming Live, and they looked very pretty as well.
They do look fantastic. It's the same company that does all the CMON sculpts. So it's the same people that do the Zombicide and the Game of Thrones, Song of Fire and Ice. It's the same company that do them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It sounds like it's going to have quite a bit of tactical depth because it's all about setting up combos and moving around the boards to get into the right position to basically do things. But now, I haven't played this kind of game since I played Blood Bowl in like the 90s, so I haven't played in a long time. And I got to admit, I played Dread Ball a few years back, and it didn't grab me. There was something about it just didn't.
I was the same with Dread Ball. It didn't really resonate very well with me, but I played Blood Bowl a couple of months ago, actually. I love Blood Bowl. I played so much of that.
Do you think it's held up, though?
I don't know, it's quite hard to kind of distinguish between where it is a good game and where I've got such fond memories of having played so much of it that...
the Talisman effect.
We're going to call it the Talisman effect. The Talisman effect when I played Blood Bowl...
Blood Bowl was better than Talisman.
I really loved it. I played it a few months ago. I played it with my brother, and back when I used to play a lot, back in my GW days, I played with my brother then, so it was kind of a rehashing of that. It was really fun, really familiar. It took us a little while to kind of get back into the rules, but fantastic. I just love Blood Bowl. I'd play it far more often if I had the time to do it. It's quite a lengthy game, I've always found. But Coreball is playable. Is it 4 players at once as well, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds messy.
And it's all set in the same universe as the Faith RPG.
Yes.
Okay.
Something else that we need to get back to.
We do indeed, actually. I think I need to restart that campaign we did because I think everyone's forgotten what happened on that. So actually, that's another point. If you are going to Expo and you're into RPGs and want something different from a sci-fi RPG, go have a look at Faith as well. Because that's really cool. The way that the card resolution system of that is really quite clever.
Even if you're not specifically interested in that kind of thing, go and see it anyway because it's a really good game, really good system. It's fun.
Do they use the same system in Dragons Conquer America? Is it the same card-based system in that?
Yes. Based on, I think it's a variation of it, but it's based on the same system, yeah.
All right, cool.
My biggest worry with Coreball is that the last time I got really excited about a minis kind of one versus at least one other type game, I went out and I got really excited. I bought my own faction, and they're still in a cupboard along with all the paints that I bought to paint them.
Would this be Infinity, Mr. Cage?
Maybe.
Consolation, Mr. Cage. At last year's Games Expo, I bought the Operation Ice Storm expansion, which takes the Operation Ice Storm starter pack to 300 points, so you can play a standard game with it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's still in the box unglued. That's 12 months ago now. That's a year ago I bought that.
Wow.
So Sunday, Steve. Several hours of gluing and painting.
I used to...
We could have a painting party.
I love a painting day, or used to anyway.
Do you know what? I've not painted stuff for ages. I need to get back into my Mansions of Madness painting. Now that they've actually stopped releasing expansions, I can just about catch up.
Well, actually, have you, and this is tying this back in, because Games Workshop will be there, and I hope they're going to be selling these, or at least showing them off. Have you heard about the new paints from Games Workshop?
No.
So it's a new range of paints, and basically they're good, like super beginners or super quick paints.
Right.
They're basically, it's like almost like a glaze.
Like a wash.
Pre-made glaze. Like a pre-made glaze, yeah. So what you do is you undercut your miniature white, and then you paint on this one coat of paint, and that's it, you're done.
What?
It's shaded and highlighted automatically.
What?
How does that work?
It's like a really strong wash.
It's like a wash with paint pigment in.
Is this kind of like the effect of was it Lords of Hellas did that? Was it the teardrop method?
Sundrop,
yeah.
That was just ink by hosepipe. That's all that was.
That was Zenithal highlighting, and then, as you said, a hose pipe full of ink splurted all over them. No, this is, you actually paint it on. So the examples they show is, of course, an Ultra Smurf. I mean, an Ultramarine. So you can spot the Dark Angels fan here.
It's all about the Blood Angels. Yeah.
Crap, I've agreed with Andy twice in one episode.
It's the way forward, John. You know it. You will eventually agree with everything I say because I talk sense.
No.
So quite literally, all you do is just paint it on as if you're just doing the base coat. You paint this colour over the white undercoat of the colour you want. And as I said, it's got like an ink built into it, so it already does the wash and also already brings out the highlights. It's simple, but for board games or for doing like huge armies, it looks like it's actually really effective.
It's just what you need.
I'm going to have to see this myself to kind of pass judgment on it.
The examples I've seen, they're not as good as, going in and painting it for hours and hours and hours. But considering your bang for buck in terms of the amount of time that you need to invest, it's a no-brainer, I think.
Maybe.
They look good. They look really good.
I quite enjoy the whole process of sitting down. I put a podcast on or a geeky TV show movie, and sit down and paint for a couple of hours, which I get loads of as a father to two small children.
Yep. 6 or 7 layer dry brushing. That's the way forward. That's how I spend a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, yes.
The problem is you spend a Sunday afternoon doing that and then you realise you've painted one miniature out of a squad of 20.
Yeah, I know. That's the
It's
problem.
like, I'm never going to do the rest of these.
No.
I actually went through a period at the beginning of the year. I took all my paints and my Blood Bowl team into work because my desk had a nice big window next to it. So I was actually sat there on my lunch break painting my minis. It was at the end of the week where I realised all I've done is paint a load of feet. Because you're limited. I've got scoff my sandwich and then I've got 1 hour to paint as much as possible. And it's just like, oh, brilliant. I've just done all their shoes. Great.
To start, it's more than I've done.
Right then, gents, I think it's time to draw this to a close. I mean, we've mentioned 12 and a few more games.
Cheat.
But, I mean, there's a couple of things. We just quickly run through some honourable mentions. I mean, really quick, because I don't want us to go on too long. I mean, Loke battle mats are going to be there again. Mm-hmm. We've got a Loke battle mat here. Really cool things. And what these are laminated ring-bound books that you can use as your maps in D&D games. They're going to be bringing out. There's a whole new range of them that they're bringing out. Do you know how at City of Games last year we played the chocolate tasting game?
Yeah. That was good.
It was good.
That was by Honey Badger Games. Honey Badger Games are going to be there. Unfortunately, they don't have this game ready for sale, but they will be having other game-related treats available.
Awesome.
Nice.
Including jelly D20s.
Hello.
That sounds great. Awesome. So if you roll a crit, you have to eat the D20.
What happens if you roll a 1? Where does it go then?
Well, I'm not going to speculate.
June, I really hope that's going to be at the expo.
Sad news, it's not.
Oh.
Sorry, Steve.
I know, I'm disappointed by that, actually, because I quite like Dune. I need to rewatch it. In fact, Laura's listening to the storybook at the moment, so I'm listening to it kind of in bits as I sort of overhear, a chapter or so every now and then when she sort of wanders around. In other news, Imhotep the Duel is coming out, which I've just bought the expansion to the base, the main sort of game. Again, not played it yet, only turned up the other day. But this is a bit like Seven Wonders, the Duel, obviously deliberately designed for 2 players. So the idea is that you are building monuments yourself, just against the other player. It's really teeny tiny as well. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. But it looks quite interesting. And also, obviously, interested in the Teotihuacan expansion from Board and Dice and SKN.
I played the expansion last weekend as well.
Did you? Is it good?
I did. Now, it's very modular. So what it presents several modules that can be placed into the game, and you can mix and match these modules. So you could throw them all in. So unlike Sierra West, which we were talking about earlier, where you had to do one at a time, with this you could throw all the modules in, or you can pick and choose. So there's various ones that replace different places on the board. There's a 4th track. So you get like the temple tracks.
Right.
There's a 4th one of them, which gives you loads of extra bonuses. There's asynchronous powers.
Ooh.
So there's basically starting rolls, which give you a benefit and a penalty. So we played with the asynchronous powers. So I could move 4 spaces around the board rather than 3. But when I couldn't spend Cocoa to unlock my dice, and whenever I gained cocoa, I got 1 less.
Oh, bloody hell. Cocoa is like a seriously limited resource in that game, so that's
yeah. We kind of picked them at random, but I mean, it was good because I had more choice about where I could go around the board. But I realised that once I got there, I didn't have the cocoa to do what I wanted anyway.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's interesting. I'll have a look at that. I assume it's there for demo rather than purchase, and it'll be out probably at Essen.
Yeah, I think it's an Essen release, I think.
We've got the Dice Hospital expansion. Looking
forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's helicopters. Because you've got the little grey ambulances you get for the sort of deluxe bit. They're having. It looks like they're going to have 3D models of helicopters in the same sort of style, which sounds pretty damn cool. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Because there's actually 3 expansions in this one, aren't there?
Is it 3?
There's 3 expansions. You've got the city, which is the helicopters, which adds kind of this. It changes the dice drafting mechanic. So it's how it makes that a little bit more interactive and kind of allows you to kind of predict and plan and screw people over a little bit more. You've then got the maternity expansion, which adds a little 8mm dice.
Awesome, baby dice.
Yeah, baby dice.
I see what they've done there.
Yeah, and the twist with that is that when you have pregnant mother dice comes in, you have to roll to find out whether she's going to have 1 or twins. And
I see.
She can't get discharged until her babies can be discharged. They all have to be discharged in the same round.
Jesus.
But a mother and a baby can never, what's the word? When
be separated.
They can't be separated, and they can't deteriorate. That's the word I'm looking for. They can't deteriorate, which means they force other patients to deteriorate instead.
Jeez.
Right, they clog up the hospital.
They clog up the hospital, yeah, and is even putting your mother dice in her own ward is kind of the optimal movement to do. If you put her in a ward with anybody else, they will deteriorate. So it's going to really mess it up. And then you've got the improvement and training, which adds I think that's kind of a work in progress title. They've not quite finished the name of that one, but that adds an additional board and a new worker placement fashion to train up your staff. There's lots of things going on out there.
Sounds great.
So excited.
That's from Alley Cat as well. That's good. And then something that's probably going to be of interest to Mr. Tudor as well as myself is the Donning the Purple Votes and Virtue expansion. I know absolutely nothing about it, but given that we absolutely love Donning the Purple, I am all over that already.
I know about it.
Do tell.
It introduces a 4th player, so you've got a general now. So the general, you're not allowed. You don't want the general to become too popular with the legions, otherwise he just marches in and takes the throne.
Cool.
It also adds loads of other new cards and some of the bits. But yeah, the main thing it adds is the general, and there's also a Senate action, but I can't quite remember how that works off the top of my head.
Okay, interesting.
Something else I spotted that was out there is Silk, which we've mentioned previously, but I'd kind of forgotten about it.
We mentioned it in the Essen preview episode, and I remember seeing it get released, and then, again, I completely forgot it had come out. So I'm interested as well, because I thought this game looked fascinating as well when you mentioned it last time.
Giant silkworms.
Yeah, it's such a weird-looking concept. Like, on the surface, it's like, you're, trying to basically herd silkworms. You're like, okay, fair enough. And then you notice the artwork. The silkworms are like the size of sheep. So it's a kind of gateway game in area control and worker placement, sort of medium to lightweight, 2 to 4 players, 45 minutes. And it piqued my interest for the Essen episode. I'd quite like to actually get a chance to play it, so I'm hoping that there's going to be some demos out there.
Hopefully.
To be fair, that was on, is it Devere?
Yeah.
Who published that? In the past, they've had really good demos running, actually. Plenty of games you can play on the stand.
I think that's actually going to be on the Cosmos stand.
A couple of things that were kind of on my long list that didn't make it. Judge Dredd Helter Skelter, which is basically Wildlands, Judge Dredd.
Okay.
We like Judge Dredd. We like Wildlands. That should be cool. Artemis Project was a game I almost backed on Kickstarter, and I think it's going to be that's Grand Gamer Guild. So I really want to see that up close, just to see whether I should have backed it on Kickstarter and kick myself, or whether I shouldn't and be happy. And we speak about roll and write. David Turksy's done a roll and write game called Roman Roll, which is going to be on the Plastic Soldier Company stand. So I want to see what David's crazy mind has come up with for the roll and write system.
Andy sounds less interested.
Yeah, far less.
We'll convert you.
Yeah, this time next year, you're going to be all about roll and rights, Andy.
I suspect not. But we shall see, so...
Anything else anyone wants to mention?
We're going to be there.
All four?
All of us.
Yes.
4 of us.
We're there. All 4 of us. If you do see us, say hello. You'll hear Andy from the other side of the hall. 20,000 people crammed into NEC, and you'll hear Andy.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the ferret running around looking for new tasty, newsy tidbits. I've scared Steve slightly that he's not sure whether I'm actually going to do it and take the ferret with us.
No, I know you are. I know you, John. If you think it's going to embarrass me, you'll take the ferret.
Of course.
If you think it's going to annoy Andy, you'll take the ferret. So that's 2 reasons to take it now.
Andy will just distance himself from Mr. Cage.
And for that reason, it's in.
Oh, God.
It's a creepy looking thing.
I think on that note, we need to end rapidly.
Yes. Yes, we will be at the UK Games Expo. We'll be wandering the halls. If you see us, please say hello. We're easy to spot. We don't bite, providing Andy's muzzle is on. Oh, provided we've eaten.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because we forget to eat usually at Expo.
It's true. We just live on coffee.
And I will warn you, if I haven't had my coffee, I'm grumpy. So if you see me grumpy, I apologise.
I will bring an emergency thermos and some emergency sandwiches.
So, thank you very much for listening. We have been Polyhedron Collider. If you enjoyed this show, please give us a review on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. If you want to chat to us, we are available on Twitter. Collectively, we are at PolyhedronC, which is usually me behind the keyboard on that one, but I will pass on any messages to any other team members. Individually, I am at Wahoffle Madenga.
I am at Sonic H with a 0.
I'm at Jon_Cage.
And I'm at Rory J. Summers.
We're also available on Facebook and on the Board Game Geek Guild 2726.
If you like a bit of D&D, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait, actually, because we're on a little bit of a break, a bit of a hiatus between games. But in the future, there will be more D&D action to be had on twitch.tv/Polyhedron Collider. And again on youtube.com/user/Polyhedron Collider, where you can also find our lovely podcast.
Indeed. So, we shall see you all at the UK Games Expo. If we don't, we shall speak to you in a couple of weeks, where we will be talking again about the UK Games Expo, because we were telling you all about the games we actually played. And let's see how close our predictions were. So for now, tatty bye.
Ta-ra.
Sure.
Catch you later.